The games I'm going to review in this video aren't the best games I played in 2023, but they're not the worst either. Let's get started. 15 video game reviews in 7 minutes, starting now. First up is Citizen Sleeper. This is a sci-fi story about citizens of an ancient, rundown space station, told almost entirely via on-screen text. Choices matter, and time is against you. The gameplay consists of simple dice rolls, and there is never any graphic representation of anything that happens, only hand-drawn images of the principal players. I really enjoyed the unusual sci-fi story and unique atmosphere that this game presented. The Callisto Protocol. This is a sort of spiritual successor of Dead Space that was designed by the members of the original team, and that shows. The setting and the gameplay mechanics are very similar. The graphics are great, but the plot is pretty pedestrian. It was fairly short, and I don't really have any complaints except for how the game's save feature worked. The checkpointing is horrible, and often you're taken back very far when you die, and most annoyingly, back to before you sold items or purchased upgrades at a kiosk. Dumber still, the game has manual saves, but they literally do nothing. Loading a manual save takes you back to the most recent autosave. Those complaints aside, this game got a lot of hate at launch, and it really didn't deserve it. Signalis. This is an indie survival horror game that's largely developed by two people. It's got a great pixelated, low-poly aesthetic, and it has cryptic but well-made cutscenes, and a story that always seemed on the verge of making sense, but it never really did for me. Still, I enjoyed the experience. If you like old-school games like the original Resident Evil, give this one a shot. Lunark. I kickstarted this game back in 2019, and it came out in late March this year. The best way to describe it is think classic games like Flashback and Out of This World, but with the screen resolution of an EGA Sierra adventure. The gameplay was polished, the story was fun, and the animated cinematics and music fit the nostalgic design perfectly. It's so weird to play these kind of games that would have ruled the world in the early 90s, but are barely noticed in 2023. The Dead Space Remake. Now this is how a remake should be done. It looks amazing, but is so faithful that you really have to go back to the original to appreciate just how much of a graphical improvement it is. If you've never played this, it's one of the best games of all time, brought up to 2023 standards, and the gameplay holds up. For old fans like me, it was great to play through it again. A couple of moments didn't really have the impact they did in the original, but overall, I had no real complaints. Minit. You've picked up a cursed sword. In 60 seconds, you'll die. You'll wake back up at your home, and when another minute passes, you'll die again. Minit is a cute little adventure game where the challenge is to accomplish something of value before a 60-second timer runs out. I beat it in about 90 minutes, but it can be accomplished in under half an hour if you know what you're doing. There's nothing really groundbreaking here beyond the central premise and solid design, but it's a fun way to spend an evening. S.C.A.T. The unfortunately named S.C.A.T, which stands for Special Cybernetic Attack Team, is an auto-scrolling shooter that borrowed gameplay elements from other NES games like Life Force and Contra. It has two-player co-op and surprisingly good music that sounds like it came from a Konami game in spite of being developed by Natsume. I played through this because I discovered it was valuable and I wanted to sell my copy, and I had never played it. Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance. I'm not much for Platinum games, but I got tired of being told to play this by so many people. It looks great on the Series X, and it's really short. It's a bonkers, over-the-top blast from the past that takes the annoying surprise protagonist from Metal Gear Solid 2 and makes him cool. Motoko-chan's Wonder Kitchen. This little Japanese mayonnaise commercial disguised as a kid's game really surprised me with how well-made and entertaining it is. Find animals with recipes, find ingredients, learn random historical mayonnaise facts, prepare a recipe, and then learn how to make a mayo-based sauce. Vampire Survivors. What is a vampire survivor? A miserable pile of Castlevania references. I got hooked on this. There's so much to unlock and so many different strategies to try. It's just addictive, mindless fun. Crayon Shin-Chan, me and the professor on summer vacation. This whole game is just a chill summer vibe. Catch fish and bugs and make friends in town. I loved the hand-drawn artwork and the relaxed pace. It's made by the same team who made the legendary Boku no Natsuyasumi series, and it's basically a parody of their own games. Alan Wake Remastered. I played this way back on the 360 and wanted to play it again as a refresher before playing the sequel. It's showing its age a little bit, but I still really enjoyed it. Now I want to replay Control too. Yakuza Dead Souls. This is a strange what-if story in the Yakuza universe, where a zombie outbreak forces the government to quarantine Kamurocho. Combat is mostly firearm-based this time, with you playing as 4 different protagonists as you work your way through the story. The zombie theme really pushes the story over the top, even by Yakuza standards. Being a PS3 game, load times are ridiculous and the frame rate almost screeches to a halt when there's too much action, but I'll give it a pass for being 12 years old. I had a good time, but until they bring it to modern consoles, this one's only for die-hard Yakuza fans. Like a Dragon, Ishin. This is a remake of a PS3 game that never got a US release. While it's not really a Yakuza game, it plays exactly like one, but instead of being about Yakuza clans and set in modern-day Tokyo, it's about warring samurai factions in Kyoto just before the Meiji Restoration in the 1800s. All of the primary characters have faces and voices you know from the Yakuza series, as though they're actors performing in a period piece. The combat is fun, with 4 styles to switch between during fights, and as usual, there's a compelling story, bonkers side quests, and lots of fun minigames to play. You can even sing a new version of Baka Mitai. Tron Identity. This is a visual novel set in the Tron universe that nobody asked for, but I was more than happy to support it. Tron is just one of my favorite things. There's not a lot here though, really. You're a detective program investigating a crime scene. The game consists of just 6 locations in one building that you visit multiple times, with events changing based on your choices. Dialogue is only occasionally interrupted by a mildly interesting minigame in which you defrag the corrupted memories of programs you're questioning. Unfortunately, I can only really recommend this to Tron diehards like me. Thanks for watching, but don't stop there. In my next video, I'm going to talk about another 10 games that I completed this year. In fact, they are my 10 favorite games that I finished in 2023.